All right, so here we go. So yes, I'm just going to repeat myself. Hi everyone, I'm Amelia Ramsaran. I'm with Housing Alliance Delaware as well. I am the county lead for Newcastle County. So if your assignments are Newcastle County, you have a face to the name of the person that you'll be in communication with between now and the end of the month. We are here for the sheltered count breakout room. So if you are planning to volunteer for the afternoon or early night of January 28th, you would be watching this recording for this breakout room. Um, I do want to check. Again, unfortunately, do not know the assignments or didn't see all of the assignments for each of the counties. Um, were all of you assigned to Code Purple? Or is there anyone here who's assigned to a sheltered location that is not a Code Purple?
I am the coordinator for the People's Community Center, the Neighbors in Need
Okay.
Code Purple Shelter. So I'm not sure. I haven't been assigned, but I'm thinking I'm supposed to be here because I'm going to be there that night.
Okay,
Um,
perfect. I think that sounds about right, unless you are planning to do double duty.
yep, no, thanks.
Amelia, I don't
Yep.
know if I don't think I'm in it. I'm in Kent, but I don't think I'm in a code. I don't know if it's a code purple. It wasn't temperature dependent.
So in Kent County, Code Purple will be open regardless of the temperature. So,
Oh, okay.
yep. For Kent County and Sussex County, it will be open regardless. Newcastle County is temperature and weather dependent, and we are hoping to know within the week if Friendship House will be opening Code Purple and which locations they'll be opening. So those of you on this call who are here for Newcastle County, you will hear from us before next Friday about if those locations will be open or not. If Code Purple in Newcastle County is not open, when we let you know that Code Purple will not be open, we will then ask you if you are able to participate in the point in time count some other way. Um, but we are just waiting to see about Friendship House. We don't like looking at the weather forecast 2 weeks in advance. Um, I unfortunately did do that this morning, and there, based on if I wanted to believe the weather 2 weeks in advance, there is a very strong chance Code Purple will be open, but I don't know for sure. Friendship House makes that call. All right. Um, I have a list of things for us to talk about in this breakout room. Um, the first thing I want to point out for the sheltered point in time count, the rules of a sheltered count is that the sheltered count will be based on the people who are physically sleeping at the specific location. The reason I need to say that is because I know that there are some programs and some organizations that provide dinner at night. And what may happen is that people may be there to eat and hang out, and they do not plan to sleep at the Code Purple location of the organization that happens to be providing that dinner. The Code Purple sheltered count is based on the people physically sleeping at the Code Purple location that night. So that is something to keep in mind when you start doing surveys on the 28th. Um, each Code Purple location is very different. The way that the organizations around the state operate their Code Purples are different. So unfortunately, I don't have every single one of those rules, but a big one, two big ones that I've already just pointed out. One, Newcastle County happens to be temperature dependent, and because they may not be available every night, they may not have the dinner component that I mentioned that the two lower counties may or may not have. Um, so what I can start with is I'm going to share my screen. All right. So my screen is started. So I do have on the screen right now the county lead contact information and information about arrivals and the sites. I'm going to read it out loud as well. You will be asked to arrive at a designated code purple or cold weather shelter on January 28th, and the specific time that you will be asked to get there depends on the location itself. There are some in Kent County that will start as early as 4 o'clock. There are some that will start as late as 9 o'clock. It really depends on how that program operates. When the final volunteer assignment emails are sent out, which we are planning to do by next Friday, we will give you the address, the time, any instructions about how to get to that location, where you should park. That kind of information will be provided in that email. We are going to ask you to please make sure that you arrive to your location at the time that is outlined to you. Code purples are expected to be busy locations, so we can't really have people show up late. Sheltered survey is generally completed within 2 hours, but it really does depend on the number of people staying at that site. There are some code purple locations we heard that has about 10 people per night. We have heard of locations being open to have up to 100 people.
Oh my.
So it really depends on the night, it depends on the weather, it depends on what's going on in that area. Um, so it may take you 2 hours. You may need a little more than 2 hours to survey everybody, but we are asking you to please make sure that you stay long enough to make sure everyone has a chance to be surveyed. Um, let me just, yep. And we already talked about the Newcastle County Code Purple information here. So when we go to roles and responsibilities, there will be a site or a team lead for each of the groups that are going to be in the point in time count, or yeah, for each location. Um, the site or team lead will be in charge of coordinating with the county lead to make sure that surveys, volunteer materials, all of that information or materials are available at the physical site on the night of the pit. So between next Thursday, I believe, and the actual night of the pit, you'll have to reach out to me, Aaron, or Sophie to figure out how surveys. This same document, we're going to make sure that that's available at every location. Um, the pens, the surveys, the clipboards, the care bags that you will need for your location get to that location. Some places the county leads will be dropping them off, but there are some locations where we would need the volunteers to come to our office or figure out a place to have those exchanged. The site or team lead will also want to make sure that all of their team members show up and sign in on the night of the pit. Attendance is very important for the point in time count, and you would need to communicate with the county lead if people don't show up. They're also the ones to field texts and calls from their team members about how to driving directions, last minute changes, anything like that. And then at the end of the point in time count, the site or team lead is also responsible for getting the surveys and extra materials back to Housing Alliance Delaware so we can get that stuff back to us and we can start on our reporting. If you are not a site or team lead, you are still a very helpful, wonderful site team member. So please just make sure that you guys show up on time. Make sure that you are communicating with your site or team lead about any changes about your participation in the point in time count. All of you will be put on a group email with when the final assignments go out, so you will be able to communicate with each other. You will be asked to survey people experiencing homelessness, staying at your assigned site for that night, and providing people that you encounter with a care bag, as long as you have a care bag, and making sure that completed surveys are returned to your team lead. So some do's and don'ts about the point in time count. I have not reviewed these in advance, sorry. So do lead with respect for the person that you're talking to and their space. Do clearly identify yourself as a point in time count volunteer. Do have conversations with people and get consent to survey. We will be talking about the survey in a couple of minutes. You will have to get verbal consent from everyone you talk to that they are consenting to doing the survey. When we say do have conversations, we're also saying not to just cut them off and stay strict to business. When it comes to the survey, if people want to share their story, listen to them, that kind of thing. Do gather as much information as possible without being pushy. We will share obviously what information we are looking for, but trying to fill that out completely and any other details that may stick with you, you're able to hear them. Do show their responses to the person being surveyed if they want to see them. Do provide a care bag to everyone that you encounter, regardless of their willingness to complete the survey. So that is another big part of the point in time count. We are not trying to be super pushy. and force people into being surveyed. We will talk about ways to work around that if someone is not willing to participate. Um, and the last two, it says, do prepare yourself mentally and emotionally, as you will see people in crisis that may have to share distressing information while while you're working on the survey with them. Some don'ts. When you are participating in the point in time count in general, you are not allowed to take pictures of the site or the people being surveyed, to respect people's privacies. If you want to take pictures, you can take pictures with your team, but it will not be with anyone you are encountering and surveying during the point in time count itself. A huge rule for the point in time count is that you cannot hand surveys out to people to complete. Volunteers have to verbally conduct the survey by asking questions and writing down the responses of the people you are surveying. So handing out surveys is prohibited. You guys would have to actually spend the 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes talking to person by person to conduct these surveys. Do not assume that you know the answer to survey questions, and do not force people to answer questions if they do not want to. You will see when we get to the survey that you can easily check that the person does not want to answer and try to move on to the next question. Don't insert yourself into the person's story. Don't talk over them. Let them share what they feel like sharing, and don't put yourself in their place. And do not prioritize or promise service delivery. So this is a survey data project. Unfortunately, we cannot guarantee that this person being surveyed would get connected to additional services. I'm going to take a moment here just to peep at the chat. If anyone has any initial questions, I'm going to look at the chat and then I'll start talking again.
I see that Kevin's asking about whether he needs to switch a night if he's already volunteering at Code Purple in order to be there.
I'm a Code Purple phone. I just signed up and this is for this an hour ago. I will be so Kevin, I would just say for your assignment, if you sign up to volunteer in Sussex County, Sophie will probably confirm with you that if you are regularly there and you happen to be there on the 29th, you're learning what you need to learn to kind of fold yourself into.
Yeah, well, I'll be there on the 28th instead. The 29th that's an overnight shelter. So normally I'm there on the 29th, but what I need to do is swap. I'll do the 28th. Then I already know the guys, so I can do all their surveys with them on the 28th.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. You would just coordinate that whether it's Love Inc. or Theros Village, whoever it is.
I know Nikki Gonzalez. She's the team leader.
Redemption City. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that'll be easy.
Perfect.
Thank you.
No problem. Let me just check my notes.
Thanks for being willing to do that, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Yes, for sure. Just a couple of extra notes that may have been mentioned during the Zoom or not. I can't remember at this point. You will be connected with a site contact for your Code Purple location. It sounds like some of you are familiar with the locations that you're going to. Some of you may not be familiar with the locations you were assigned to. So we will connect you with a site contact for each Code Purple location. Those people may provide additional information that we at Housing Alliance Delaware do not have about conducting the point in time count. They may tell you where to park. They may tell you what door to go into. So please just continue to watch your email once you get your final assignment for those kind of details. A big portion of Code Purple, I know that this is the case for Newcastle County. I don't know about the other two counties. Some of our start times coordinate with when people are lined up to get into the Code Purple location. So there may be 15 or 30 minutes before the doors actually open to the shelter, but we have still assigned people to those locations to start working through that line just to get through those people. Again, there are some locations where we've heard there were almost 100 people in one location out in one night. So that would be very hard for 3 or 4 people to get to in 2 hours or less. So starting with that line, you may be starting your survey outside. again, not sure how all of the Code Purple locations operate, but there may be instructions or details that the Code Purple survey time corresponds with when people are eating. So that may also be a possibility just to kind of put on your radar. And we also do just ask you, again, depending on how each Code Purple location operates, you may want to give people some extra space and some extra time just to get themselves settled. Settled as in putting their stuff away or in a corner, but still trying to get them surveyed before they go to sleep for the night. Um, let's see. Okay. If there are no additional questions at this moment, what I'm going to show you next is the survey. So these surveys will be available to you when you get to your location. The site or team leads will make sure that those are available to you the night of the 28th. So let me share my screen. I'm actually the data person, so sorry if I get I'm trying not to be too technical. So please just let me know if I'm going too crazy with this. But I do want to show you the survey so you can just understand what kind of questions are going to be asked. I can't. I draw an arrow, I'm sorry. I like pointing. And I cannot. Okay, can't do that. Can you see my mouse move around at least? Okay, cool. So at the beginning, in the top right-hand corner of the sheltered, so the sheltered survey is one page back and forth, front and back. If you are specifically assigned to the Wilmington location of Code Purple for Newcastle County, there will be a second page, which I will also show you. However, most of you will be seeing one page front and back as a full survey. In the very top right-hand corner is just a way for us to identify where the survey is being taken. The agency name, whether it's, again, Loving, Redemption City. That information should be provided to you in your assignment. If you get to your location early, probably just filling out a whole bunch of them before you even get started. You're going to be able to fill out the agency or organization where the Code Purple is being operated by. The site or program, some locations have names. It's either that or the location of the Code Purple itself. The surveyor name, so we would just need you to jot down your name. Code Purple has its own checkbox for the program type, so you all would check those off. And then what location, what county or locality you happen to be at, between Newcastle County, Kent County, Sussex, or for the city of Wilmington, specifically the city of Wilmington. Then you have a consent statement. This is required to be read to every person before you start a survey. I'm helping the Delaware Continuum of Care conduct a survey of people experiencing homelessness to better inform priorities, programs and services, and housing solutions. Completing this survey takes 5 to 10 minutes, and it is voluntary and confidential, which are both true. Again, clients have the right to skip questions that they don't want to answer, and then personal information will not be shared outside of these surveys. It is used purely for data analysis. And I can guarantee that. So please make sure that you're reading this consent statement to each person before you begin the survey. And then to make us feel better, please make sure that you check off that the person gives consent for being surveyed. If they say no, again, we will talk about what happens when a person does not want to complete a survey as soon as we go through these questions. The first question, which unfortunately on the data side is the most important question, we need the person's age, date of birth, or some approximate part of their age. We are not able to count someone if we do not know a general ballpark of how old they are. So if someone gives their actual date of birth, jot that down. If they do not want to give their exact date of birth, please ask for their age. If they don't want to give either of those, please have them select one of the few categories where we can kind of guess where their age is. Going to the part, just mentioning it for the part of the people who may not consent to being surveyed, if you are able to even observe or ask them how old they are, technically every other question can be skipped. But we cannot count someone for the point in time count if we don't have an idea of how old they are. So that is why it is question number 1. Then we will be asking for people's names. This is just to make sure we don't count the same person twice. They put legal name here, but there is also an option to jot down someone's preferred name. Also helps you create a more personal communication with that person or interaction. Then we ask for social security number. Again, this is a big one where we are using it solely to make sure we're not counting the same person twice. If a person does not want to share their social security number, if you can ask them for the last 4 digits, we will take that. If they do not want to give any part of their social security number, there is a DK/REF. That means they don't know or they refuse to give it. You are allowed to check that and move on. But again, that is just purely for making sure when we do data entry, we don't count the same person multiple times. We then ask for people's race and ethnicity. So this, you can select all that are applicable and just checking off any one or more identities that the person selects. Same thing for gender. There are multiple options there. You would just select one or more of how the person identifies for their gender. Have they ever served in any branch of the US military? That's a yes or no question. And as I said, as you go through all these questions, you will see all of them have a don't know or refused option that you are able to use if the person chooses not to answer it. Are you currently fleeing domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and or stalking? That's a yes or no. Obviously, this is a very sensitive question, so please be mindful of your surroundings as you ask this question. Sometimes if there are couples very close to each other, you may want to kind of, read the room a little bit, try and see if you can get some personal space with the person that may look uneasy when they see this or hear this question, hear this question. And if any situations arise where this comes up, answering yes. Number 8, where were you sleeping before tonight's location and for how long? So the point in time count is happening on a Wednesday night, and all of our people, clearly you're surveying them at a code purple. So their location for the night is code purple. You are now asking them about where they were Tuesday night. So the night before, were they at code purple still? That is fine. How long have they been at code purple? But places like in Newcastle County, where code purple isn't always open, they may be at code purple on Wednesday night, but Tuesday night they were somewhere completely different. We're just trying to get a grasp of where, if people are continuously in these homeless situations. So where did they stay that Tuesday night, and how long were they at that place? Question 9, have you been sleeping in shelters or places not meant for sleeping or living for 1 year or more without a break? Sleeping for a place not meant for sleeping or living does include the hotels or motels that are paid for by the state or through a charity. So if they say yes, they've been homeless for more than a year, just select yes. Have you slept in shelters or places not meant for sleeping or living 4 or more times in the last 3 years? That's a yes or no as well. Sometimes you might have to ask a little more about, okay, you were in code purple for how long? Before that, were you in a car? Were you outdoors? Sometimes people may build up that living situation timeline for you guys to figure out the answer. Number 11, how many total months have you slept in shelters or places not meant for sleeping or living in the last 3 years? Some people obviously will not have a clear set answer for this, but take any answer that you can get there. Are you living within a disabling conditions is question number 12. That's a yes or no question. But if they answer yes, you would have to ask if they can identify which of these disability types the person has. Drug use disorder, alcohol use, a physical disability, a mental health condition, a chronic health condition. This can be a person can answer multiple of these as well. And then the last question for the front page, which may be for the entire survey, it does say how many of your household members are sleeping in the same location as you tonight. So we are asking how many people at this code purple location are related to you. How many adults and how many children are in this location. I understand that some code purples only allow adults to be there. So if there are no children under the age of 18 physically there, but they do have children, it's only the people physically with them. And again, I haven't been able to see who joined this room, but for example, most code purples will not have children. Some code purples may. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But at the same time, Sunday Breakfast Mission, for example, which is a night by night shelter doing this sheltered count, if there are children physically with the person you are surveying, the number of adults and the number of children that are together. If you answer anything other than it is just me and nobody else, you do have to proceed to the other side of the page. If it is one person, a single person who is by themselves that you have surveyed, this is the end of the survey, unless you're in the city of Wilmington. So these are the main questions that are on the point in time count survey. I'm going to pause for a second, check the chat, see if there are any questions. But if anyone has any questions right now, please feel free to also come off of mute and you can ask it. Nothing in the chat. All right. So we're going to flip over to the back of the first page, and this is for us to figure out information about households. So basically, if the person says that they are not at this code purple location by themselves, they are a part, oh, I did not scroll, now you can see. They are a part of a household. So what we would need here is information about the other people in the household where we are able to put surveys together to identify people as a part of a family, however you want to identify that. So for example, if there is Tom and Sue, I don't know where I got those two names, and you just finished surveying Tom, he says he is at the same code purple as Sue, his spouse. You will be filling in Sue's name as the adult, get her demographic information, but then since Sue is also an adult, you will also complete a survey for Sue and put Tom as the adult. Sonia, I see that your hand's raised.
So this might not apply to everybody, but some of us are going to both be somewhere in the evening and the next day. A lot of time when you do the morning one, there are people who are in the same family together, but they didn't sleep in the same place the night before.
Yep.
When it's that case, do you do the second page or you only do the second
You
side
only do
if
the
they
second
sleep?
page if they're in the same physical location. In the situation that you just outlined, Tom is going to be surveyed at one code purple location. Sue is going to be surveyed in the other code purple location. Unfortunately, the way the point in time count works, for the data that Aaron mentioned we were required to report, they're receiving services separately. So that's how they are going to be counted.
Okay, but what if one person was in a code purple and one was on the street? Like,
Yep.
then we do the second side even because they're both sitting in front of me is what I'm asking, or we only do the one side, the first side for the person that
That's
was not surveyed.
That is interesting. So what you should actually be doing is conducting the front page for the person sleeping outside. That's a big thing that they're talking about in the service-based breakout room. The survey would definitely need to be completed for the person who slept outside. And you are marking the fact that the other person was at Sunday Breakfast Mission, or the shelter,
Right.
which you are now pointing out a gap in this survey. But sorry, to get into the data thing for everyone. Ideally, why we want to jot down the name here, we want to at least make sure that we know that there was a Sue at Code Purple. Ideally, Sue was already surveyed at Code Purple, so we don't really need this.
Okay, got
Yep.
it. Thank you.
Cool. I don't know how to unraise your hand, so I apologize. If two, in the chat, if two of us are at the same place, how do we prevent duplicates of family members being added by our partners? So that's a good question. Ideally, if you are talking to a family, one survey will be conducted for the entire family. So again, I don't know how Code Purple's, I unfortunately have never been to a Code Purple for the point in time count. I don't know how crazy they get. But ideally, if I keep using Tom and Sue, if Tom and Sue are both at Code Purple, two different sides of the room, that is why we want to make sure Tom's name is here and then Sue's on page 2. And then Sue has a survey and Tom is on page 1. Housing Alliance Delaware actually does the work of making sure we are not double counting the same people. So unfortunately, if you are in a really chaotic Code Purple location, it may come up to the situation where Tom and Sue's 3 kids, information's collected about them twice. We are going to make sure at the end they're only counted once. But there will be a point towards the end of your surveying time where you will probably kind of reconvene with other volunteers at your location. And you may want to say, okay, let's do one more lap, but we need to start asking people if they were already surveyed and not doing the same surveys for the same people a second time. Hopefully that answered your question, Mary.
I can add to that too, Amelia. If you're
Sure.
serving in Sussex, most of our Code Purples only have 14 individuals. And there is only one shelter that has children, so that's where that would come up. But
Yeah.
generally, we will not have that issue.
Thank you. Perfect. And I'm fairly certain Newcastle County is all adults. Sunday Breakfast Mission, again, I don't know if someone is in this room who's at Sunday Breakfast Mission. Sunday Breakfast Mission would be the other situation where that could be possible because the program is so big. But then again, Friendship House could have children. I have no clue right now how it's operating. Sorry, Mary has a follow-up question. We only do page 1 for one adult in the family. So no, you would want to do page 1 for both people in the family if we're talking about a 2-adult family. We would want Tom to do a survey and you to note that Sue is a part of the family. You will want Sue to do a survey and put that Tom is a part of the family. This first page of the survey is ideally going to be done with every adult over the age of 18, or if there is a minor who happens to be at a shelter by themselves. Yep. But this information ideally is going to be captured once, and Housing Alliance Delaware will manually sift through to put surveys together. So your goal as point in time count volunteers is just to survey as many adults as possible and just help us to the best of your ability to link surveys together. There are some surveys or there are some households around the state where it is families where there are multiple adult siblings that are together. There are sometimes a 60-year-old mother with her 30 children in her 30s. That is why there is space for up to 5 adults in one family. Ideally, if there are 5 adults, you're doing 5 surveys, but those other 4 people are all listed on the back of each person's survey. I should also mention that if there are more than 5 adults in one household, unfortunately, that's when you're going to have to start writing in the margins. Again, we do a lot of work of reading the margins and trying to figure out what information you can provide for us to keep people together in the data. Not only are you collecting information for other adults or other people at the same physical location, for Code Purple, there's also information being asked for children, so people under the age of 18. This is, I feel like, is more important to take time on. Again, Code Purple is very location by location, but if there is a single mother at a Code Purple with 2 children, make sure that the children's information, their name, their demographics basically are collected because this is the only way that we can count children. children, unless they are by themselves, a 15-year-old at a Code Purple who ran away from home, there is no way that we will get any other information about children. So you will want to write down every child that is staying with the person that you surveyed at the same physical location as them on the night of the point in time count. There are, on this survey, there is space for 2, 4, 6 children. So again, for most families, there will be 6 children or less. If you do encounter a family that has 8 or 9 children, you're starting to write in the margins, or try to take someone else's last page and fold them together. Does anyone have questions about this? Or additional questions about this? Nope, we'll keep going for now. At this point, this is the end of the regular point in time count survey. The only 2 potential situations where there's additional surveying to happen is number 1, if you are talking to someone between the ages of 18 and 25, or what was it, 13 or 25? I'll show you in the youth survey, which is what Erin was talking about earlier during the training, or if you are at the Code Purple Wilmington location. The Wilmington location, I'm just going to show you guys quickly, is these 5 extra questions. They will be stapled on a second sheet of paper. Are you from Wilmington, or did you grow up in Wilmington? That's a yes or no question. If the person grew up in Wilmington, that's the end of the survey. But if the person at Code Purple Wilmington says that they were not from Wilmington, you are going to be asking 4 additional questions about how long they've been in Wilmington and where they originally came from, and the reason for them coming to Wilmington. These are very short questions, pretty open-ended. And again, these 5 questions will only be in locations at the city of Wilmington. So Sonia, I'm just bringing it up for you specifically. Your next day location happens to be, if your next day location happens to be in the city of Wilmington, you will also see these questions on the next day service location surveys. And then the last part that I have for you is the youth count. So here are the rules. If the person is between the ages of 18 or 25, or 13 and 17 with their adult with them. These will not be stapled to your point in time count surveys. Again, your point in time count survey will be 2 pages back and front at most. Sorry, I said 1 earlier, it's actually 2. These, we will have a couple of copies in your site material folder, where if you do notice that you are surveying someone between the ages of 13 and 25, you'd want to pull out one of these surveys and see if the person is open to doing the survey. This is an additional 2 pages. It is an additional 21 questions. However, if you look at the top, it can say either this person will do the survey now, yes, or they do not want to do the survey right now, but if I take their email address or phone number, Erin at the University of Delaware will reach out to them in the next couple of weeks after the point in time count. But there are questions here. There's demographic information and a couple of additional questions about education, criminal justice history, just general health. That would be specific to the youth point in time count. Just because I want to be respectful of all of your time, I am not going to go through every single question. And let me see this chat question. So someone who is 22 years old, it would be completing, yes, you are correct, Jean. So if you come across a 22-year-old during the point in time count at a Code Purple, you will be conducting, oh, wrong one. The point in time count survey, yes. This one is the more important one, however. So I do want to say that the point in time count sheltered survey is the more important one. And then, yes, you would also attempt the youth count survey as well. But again, if the person is burnt out already from the sheltered survey, you can ask them for their contact information and move on. This is supplemental to this survey. If you do not complete this survey, we won't even have the person's information to follow up with them at the University of Delaware. All right, let me just check my notes one more time. Oh, I missed the part where, oh, I already said it. I'm going to repeat myself. In the situation where you go to someone to try to conduct a survey, they do not sound interested. Or you see someone at Code Purple who immediately went to sleep. Someone is going to have to do what is called an observation tool, which is basically completing the survey incompletely. So let's say we see in the corner of the room, there will be a man who just goes straight to sleep. We still want him to be counted, even though we're obviously not going to try to wake him up to do the survey. So what we would ask you to do is, to the best of your ability, to answer at least the questions about this person's demographics. And to repeat, the most important question is about age. So obviously, this person who's already asleep, you're not going to be able to ask how old he is, but physically looking at him, guessing which of these categories best fits his age. Um, or if someone says, hey, I don't want to talk to you, you can ask them at the very least, can you tell me how old you are? Which is weird to ask, but hey, go for it. Some people would feel comfortable answering gender and race, or saying this is a 40-year-old white man. That's what it looked like. He was marking those down, and at least that person can be counted. But unfortunately, we don't have all of the questions answered. That would be a big one where you would kind of want to coordinate with the other volunteers in your location, because at 8 o'clock, somebody might have surveyed him, but at 8:45, when things are wrapping up and you're like, I don't remember if, like, did someone survey that guy? That guy is not going to be written down as an observation tool if he was already surveyed. So I see your hand up. Go
Yes,
for it.
I'm just wondering, well, we have a Code Purple or cold weather emergency shelter at People's Community Center. We know most all of the folks that are there.
Yep.
So if someone is passed out at a table or whatever, and you all can't talk to them, is it appropriate for us to at least give you their name and their age? We
Name and
might have
age.
more information than that, but I'm sure we shouldn't give you all of that. But can we at least do that much?
You can definitely do that much.
Okay.
Again, there is a very chance that Tom Jones, who is asleep
Uh-huh.
at your Code Purple, may show up at a next day service location. We may
Right.
be able to put those two surveys together. Again, Housing Alliance Delaware does a lot of that work for you guys.
Okay.
So your goal is to just get what you can get
Okay.
based on your interactions for the night. Yep.
All right. There shouldn't
Thanks
be
for
anybody
asking
in there
that.
that we can't identify for you at least.
So that's the wonderful part, again, of the two lower counties having Code Purple open for the entire winter season. Unfortunately, Newcastle County cannot be open every single night, so I know that's going to be a lot harder
Yeah,
to figure out.
sure.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. I would say, yeah, Code Purple regular volunteers or staff. If you guys know some people by name, you may be able to work with the additional volunteers at your location to fill in those gaps, exactly like Sue just said, to get
Great.
at least the names of people that you're not able to actually go talk to and survey for whatever reason. Yep. Um, So we talked about demographics, we talked about observation tools. Just going to point out the age question again. An age, if we have somebody's age and gender and nothing else, that is still a survey because we know where you guys are getting those surveys from. Um, and I think the last thing I would just need to say is that once the point in time count is over, the site or team leads would just then need to coordinate with the county leads to get the surveys back to Housing Alliance Delaware possession. Some, again, smaller locations may be able to just scan and email the surveys to us. Some larger locations may just give us the completed paper surveys. That is perfectly fine. The one big thing that I'm personally asking as a data privacy person, please do not try to send them through the mail. Make sure that they are sent electronically or you are physically handing off the surveys to a Housing Alliance Delaware staff person. I feel like that is all that I have to share. If nobody else has any other questions, I am going to just say in general, thank you all so, so much for volunteering. This is my first year coordinating the point in time count. I did not realize how much work goes into this, so it is absolutely not possible without you guys. So thank you so much. The big part again, if you guys have any changes in your preferences or your assignments, any last minute, I can't do it anymore, those kind of things, please, please, please let your county lead know as soon as possible. As organizers, we are also trying to keep you guys up to date as quickly as we possibly can. So again, for final assignments, they will be available to you all at the end of next week. If you have any friends, colleagues, anyone else who is trying to also volunteer for the point in time count, please have them register as a volunteer as soon as possible. Yeah, to keep that communication open. And that's what I have. So thank you again. I will stay on this call until we're down to very few people. But please feel free to come off of mute if you have any more questions. Just to wrap up, if anyone did miss the PowerPoint earlier or the actual main presentation, you will be emailed your final assignments. The ones that were shown earlier were just the preliminary assignments. They are very likely to change. And I have a message from Jean. If we know a person, if we know a person and they go to sleep immediately, can we do the survey in the morning with them when they wake up? Jean, I don't know if you are affiliated with a specific group. I would say I would only feel okay with you doing that if you are someone who volunteers with Code Purple. So again, just like Sue asked about knowing people, if you are confident in that way. But a volunteer who's going to a location that they are not familiar with, I would say that to try to get them at that night. Because you won't, yeah. That answers the question because I just realized you said doing the survey when they wake up. Yes, you can technically do that because you'll be there. The other volunteers will not be there in the morning. So, yes, if you know that they were not surveyed, you can do a survey once they wake up. Yep. Sorry, it took me a second there. But yep, I will say that we are done with this breakout room. I will stay here until there are no more questions. But again, thank you all so much for your time.